expect, I think, is we're going to have some pretty bumpy waters out here today, especially coming around the front of the Lexington. We're going to catch some good air and have a ball.
I like them big, nasty, rough water races, but at the same time, I like them flat water races too every now and then where you can just hang it out and haul butt.
It's going to be a tough race. The next hour is not going to be fun, that's for sure.
In the shadows of the magnificent USS Lexington aircraft carrier, APBA Offshore Television presents Speed Vision coverage of the APBA's Baja Pro Series. Today, it's the Allen Samuels East-West Powerboat Shootout.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen, along with Bill Adam. Welcome to Corpus Christi Bay, a beautiful site for an offshore powerboat race. But, Bill, on a very windy Sunday afternoon, is going to wreak havoc for these teams.
It really will, and unfortunately the drivers and throttlemen won't be able to enjoy the sights of this beautiful city because they're going to have their hands full with highly changeable conditions. Now, this wind starts out fairly strong in the morning and then just gets worse as the day goes on. And what this does is present constant changes for the crews. They can't set their boat up for flat water, which is fine. They can't set their boat up for rough water, which is also fine. It changes back and forth, and they don't know what to do. It's just a huge gamble, a big problem for them.
Adding to their difficulty is a tricky course layout. Let's take a look at the track map.
And tricky might be the very word. This course is over 6 and back out at turn 6. You've once again got these changing waters, a number of different waters coming from different angles, all mixing up.
And we're getting set for the first race of the day. Supercat Light inboard will look like this. Roll-offs, Team Yahoo, Montano Motorsports. How sweet it is, that beautiful red number 39. As we get set to go racing.
These are catamaran hulls between 30 and 37.5 feet in length. Twin 502 cubic inch motors, about 500 horsepower Mercuries, or the 500 EFI.
3, 2, 1, green flag, green flag, green flag. And we're off and racing as the first wave of boats charges down the long straightaway.
This is one of the moments of tension for all of these fellas. They want to try and get some lead because it just gets that much worse. If you get caught in some of the turbulent wakes behind your competitors, it's a real job. Look at these guys bashing around already.
And the battle up front already beginning to build. That's Team Tellium up at the top of your screen. Now you go on board with them. The Volvo Penta onboard camera taking the pounding down the back stretch is Gary Heon, the driver, and John Kiley, the throttle man.
Look at the amount of sky you see. This gives you an indication of just how violent these...
Got Extreme Carlos and Charlie's, the F243, Snap-on Talking to Tools, F246, a couple of boats in this one.
These are V-bottoms by comparison, 30 to 39 feet in length, also with twin 502 cubic inch. Again, it's the Mercury HP 500 or the EFI 500 motors.
2, 1, green flag. And the Cigarette Back Factory 2 division off and racing.
This will be very interesting to watch the comparison where you saw the cats actually catch a little bit of air and cushion their impact on the water. Watch how hard some of these guys hit, just slamming the boat down.
Helicopters giving you this great shot as the skyline of Corpus Christi, Texas is in the background. This is that long straightaway. This is the farthest point out into the ocean that the boats go. Now we go back to the Supercat Light inboard class.
This very interesting. Oh, look at the air he caught right there. Just really stood that nose up in the air.
Team Tellium, our leader.
Now just watch and listen. You hear the length of time he was right off the throttles. He did not want to spin those engines beyond maximum RPM. He had to back way out of it. Just keep that thing from taking off like an F-14.
It just gets deadly silent when they get up in the air like that. Back to the F2 class now as that one starts to settle out a little bit.
And interesting, just make a comparison here. Look at how hard these V hulls are hitting when they're up and then coming back down compared to the cat. Oh, and a huge spray going up there. Almost blinded the fellas there running in second place, but here is the leader out front. Patrick Dunn just moseying around here heading towards that cut.
And look at the battle going on behind them. 4 boats battling it out for second place as they make their way to the cut, which is where they come back in front of the folks along the shoreline.
And I tell you, before today is done, there's a lot of these guys who would rather be riding that helicopter, getting something of a smooth ride.
Team Virgin is that bright yellow boat that you're looking at, which currently holds down second place. We're coming right back to Corpus Christi. Make sure you join us here on Speed Vision.
Demand it. Quality, craftsmanship, construction and performance, excellent style, detailing, and inspired design. It can be yours. Reach out, seize it. Ride Formula's rush of power into the future. Formula.
Speed Vision coverage of the APBA Offshore Baja Pro Series is brought to you by Baja Marine Corporation. Baja, speed changes you. And by Racing Electronics, the official communications provider to the APBA. Well, some heavy winds off of the bay here in Corpus Christi have caused some very rough seas. As you can see, the leaders in Super Cat Light inboard, Team Telly and Bill, are really struggling in this open water.
Yeah, that's about as smooth as we have seen it so far. Oh, as I call smooth, he goes for a real long flight. But at least they're getting the benefit of some cushioning. Oh, boy, just listen to that pounding.
This big 36-foot skater taking a beating out here in the open water. Here's the fight for second place. Now, this is a 37 boat of Montano Motorsports that has come up to challenge Team Yahoo. Yahoo on the left, Montano on the right, and they will take over the second position.
And in fact, you saw Yahoo actually almost get into the wake there, just getting blind for a fraction of a second. It is so tough, but just trying to cut it close around these buoys as they run through the rough water. Now,
big one.
just so rough here. Gives you appreciation for what they're going. He's saying you're all right. He's just trying to give him some encouragement. Keep it on going.
This is Zip Express back in fourth place. It's a 36-foot Spectre. And they're still working. And there you go, taking a look at Zip Express from above them on the helicopter as they try to make up ground in fourth. Now let's make our way over to the F2 class, which was the second wave of racers, the Factory 2 boats. This is a fight for the lead.
Great battle going on right here. You see them running side by side. This almost becomes ego at this point. This is Cigarette versus Formula. That's a Formula boat closest to us, the white boat. And they are running, just battling as hard as they can. Now, it's almost incentive when you can look over and see the guy that you've got to fight against. Do you allow him to go past? Do you push your own boat harder? And look how hard they're both pushing, a lot of air.
Well, and if you push too hard in water like this, you can make a very costly mistake in a real hurry.
Throttle men, so important on a race like this. Just monitoring the RPM, not allowing those engines to spin.
There's the third place boat, the Hog's Breath entry, which is a Scarab. Keith Herbott, Lee Murray in this one, giving chase the Herbott Racing entry. This will be the smallest boat in the class at only 33 feet in length. Now we move back up a little farther towards the battle for the lead. That's Team Virgin on the left. Boy, are they taking a pounding.
Imagine the G-loading these people are sustaining right now, just slamming back onto the ocean. Incredibly rough water at this point.
And Bill, when you come flying down out of the sky and hit that water line, that's like falling out of a 2- or 3-story building and landing on cement.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun. It's not something you want to do time after time, but it gets back to just how hard do you want to win. You have to force yourself. You've got to be hungry for that victory to keep the throttles down.
This is a 38-foot Cigarette boat Team Virgin utilizes. Now, Todd Clinworth, who owns and drives this boat, actually lives on St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands and has loved the Virgin Islands and has just puts Virgin Islands on the side of his boat just because he loves it there so much. So they're out front leading F2, but let's take a look at the F1 highlights from yesterday. As they came to the green to get the race underway, 9 boats in this one. F-127 MCS, BJ Marr and Mark Schnoff, and the F-186 Purple Haze right to the front, just like they did in Fort Myers. Ron Ladovic and Jason Myers in the Purple Haze boat.
Well, it's always fun to renew old friendships, and these fellows went right at it once again. Now, the waters were a little bit smoother, but you see, because the boats are small, they were still taking a pounding.
But a good battle going on behind the leaders as well. This is the F-152 of Michael Milligan and Thomas Chesley, and the F-120 of Robert Goodwin and Mark Kowalski. Well, that battle didn't last too long because the F-152 breaks. And then bigger troubles for the F-120, which winds up on its head. Everybody would be okay. It would be the second caution of the day. But the MCS survives both restarts and goes on to take the win. The F-127 of BJ Marr and Mark Schnoff would be the winners in F1 here on this day.
This is really so deceptive right now. It just looks like they're flying the waves with such grace, and it almost looks like fun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fun that is a pounding, just rocketing to the finish line right here.
Flat out on the throttles, taking the checkered flag. Let's go back to the Factory 2 series where Team Virgin is out front. And Bill, as these guys work through the rough water, you can really see the throttle man, the man on the left side of the boat, working the throttle up and down.
It's a great shot to show you just how perceptive they have to be. The throttle man is constantly looking ahead, trying to pick out the waves that are going to launch the boat off and be ready to take power out, but re-enter as fast as possible.
This is a 38-foot cigarette, which is great in rough water, but we hear there's another boat coming.
It is a gorgeous boat, maybe the prettiest paint job of all. Now, good news and bad news. Good news for the competitors, this boat will go away. The bad news, an even better one is coming.
We hear it's going to be a 36-foot cigarette, which will be great in the rough water and even better in the smooth water. Hey, stay with us. We'll be back with even better coverage. You know the coolest thing about APBA Offshore? The pit area is full of hot rods, hot bikes, and without a doubt, the hottest boats. These guys know how to live. Let's go back to the action in Super Cat Light Inboard, where Team Talium continues to lead as they pound through the surf here in Corpus Christi. Gary Heon and John Kiley.
Yeah, again, I'll bring to your attention, watch the bow of the boat, or the bows, as it comes back down re-entering the water. You see how it cushions and just, uh-oh, now here's a problem. Zip Express are dead in the water. They have suffered a problem. We hear it might be a broken prop.
Top of your screen is the second place boat. That's a 36-foot eliminator known as How Sweet It Is. That's Brent Leach and John Peterson. Leach the driver, Peterson the throttle man.
This is a boat that yesterday we watched out there running so quickly. Today they have changed a few things. Again, it gets back to the gamble. Which propellers you use, what settings you're using. It doesn't look like they quite have the speed to challenge for the lead, but second place, remember, it's a war of attrition. Now, here we're on board again. Wow, look at the flexing of the deck even. Just a huge...
Listen to how quiet it gets when they get out of the water.
Those periods of silence seem to go forever.
Jones and Morris. Boy, this is just so wild. I mean, it doesn't get much more extreme than this. When the water is changing every second, you have no way of guessing what to expect.
No, that's one of the difficulties of this type of racing, is that every single lap you have got something different. It's not like you're going over the same piece of pavement. Every single wave is different.
Time for a look now inside the world of offshore racing. Time to take you to our GM Vortec Offshore View. Speaking of extreme, nothing in the world of professional motorsports is more extreme than APBA offshore racing. We talked to our drivers about how they deal with it.
I come from running small V-bottoms at first, and when I got into a big cat and caught my first wave, it was a complete adrenaline rush. I was shaking for the rest of the day. I love it. I mean, that's my favorite part of the race is catching air. Makes for good photography. I mean, the spectators love it. That's absolutely the best part of offshore racing as far as I'm concerned.
I don't want to say it scares you. You have fear of certain things because you don't just go into these races with just, I'll drive through a brick wall. You're going to get in trouble.
You know, this is racing, and this is what gets my heart pumping, and it's a big part of who I am and who my family is. I accept that there are some risks. Yeah, there are times you get out of the boat and you wonder, okay, is this really the wisest thing to be doing? And to me, yeah, it is.
I can't say there's anything out there just goes downright scares you or you shouldn't be in the boat.
Well, our first race of the day is coming to a close. There's Team Virgin and Factory 2 making their way to the checkered flag. And coming by them, as we widen out, you'll see Team Telium, which will be our winner in Super Cat Light inboard, just to the left.
This is a perfect example of the two boats. Watch how they fly. Look back and forth here. Look at the Cat. You just see the air getting underneath that hull. You want to keep it flying, but the trick is not too high. So rough.
Working their way through the waves as they come towards the USS Lexington, heading back into the shore area.
And look at the chop. Just take a look at this rough water they've got to try and navigate through. They're watching other boats. They're trying to watch waves coming from all these different directions. Back on board one more time.
Just trying to be as smooth as they can with those throttles. Sometimes you're all the way off the throttle, and sometimes just part way.
Yeah, for sure, because again, it really depends on how far you get launched off. What you'd like to do is maybe keep the bottom ear of each propeller in the water at all times. Now, you never get that luxury to do it that perfectly, but you'd like to keep drive on it constantly. As long as you've got drive, you've got acceleration, you've got speed. When you're up in the air, you've got to be off the throttles. You're losing the speed, of course.
Just in front of the crowd that's lined the seawall near the pit area, and there will be the checkered flag in front of them. The winners of our Super Cat Light inboard, Team Telium, and also Team Virgin also taking the checkered flag as the winners in our cigarette back Factory 2 class here today. So they survived the rough waters that take the big victory. Team Telium and Team Virgin, class winners here today. We'll be back to talk to our winners right after this. Stay with us. Finishing order. Team Telium getting the win over How Sweet It Is. Team Yahoo in third. Let's go down to Bill Adam in the Lucas Oil Victory Circle.
Outstanding. That looked rough as a devil out there, and yet you both had this thing just flying beautifully.
It was extremely rough out there. Texas always brings the rough water to us.
This is our second season racing here in Texas, and we are undefeated in Texas. This is our second win here. We love it. Corpus Christi is always fantastic to us. We want to thank Telium Incorporated in New Jersey. They're our sponsor. They're doing fantastic for us. I want to thank CMI as well, our associate sponsor. And I want to say hello to MRO too, and just everybody here in Texas has been fantastic to us.
And Team Virgin, the winners in the Factory 2 class. Todd throwing the line over. Trey Martin throttling the boat in as you take a look at the Allen Samuels East-West Shootout Factory 2 results. Virgin and Let's Play Racing comes home in second place. Let's head back to the Lucas Oil Victory Circle area. Here's Bill Adam once again with the winners.
From what we could see on the shore, it looked horrendously rough.
It was very rough out there, but we have the boat for it. You can't win in the flat water, but in the rough water we excel.
You laid back a little bit at the start and then come on and did a pass almost in front of the crowd.
Well, a lot of the boats in the rough water start going every which way, and the attrition we saw right at the start. The other formula gave us a good run for our money for a while, but we knew where we wanted to be.
Any bruises?
I think we have bruises all over.
Apparently it pays to be a former winner here because all of our winners so far today are repeat winners. Cigarette Factory 2 standings look like this. Team Virgin on top. Lake Cumberland, Twisted Sticks, Treadwell Motorsports round out the top 5. With the USS Lexington being moored here in Corpus Christi, they also have the Texas State Aquarium. 2 great reasons to visit Corpus Christi. We're here for the APBA Baja Pro Series Allen Samuels East-West Shootout, part of the APBA Offshore Series Tour. Fans on the beach having a great time enjoying the races on a beautifully sunny day. Here's a look at the Outlaw winners. Dump Link in the A71 and B12. It was spiced up for you, the Dorenzo brothers taking the victory. How Sweet It Is, Bud Offshore Eagle, Zero Cavity, and Deranged all picking up checkered flags. Putting a little heat in the engines, getting ready for the racing action coming up. Let's head down to the wet pit area. Here's Bill Adam, the men Cat can do.
Sitting here watching the first race go down, and the water is getting rougher and rougher as it goes on. What does this do to your mindset?
Just knows we're in for a hell of a ride. It's going to be survival of the healthiest out there, mechanically and physique in our bodies that can take this pounding.
And Barry, now do you consciously think about maybe trying to save the boat a little more when it's this rough, or do you want to demoralize the opposition by whapping them?
Well,
you know, it's a nice thought to get out in front, and we can if we will, but certainly you need to finish the race to win. So I think the smart cards to play are wait till the end before you start dancing out.
Continuing to warm up the engines as we get set to go racing, let's go back to Bill with John Tomlinson.
John, you're watching with intent as your boat gets lowered in the water. What's going through your mind now as you see the conditions getting so rough?
It's rough out there. It's windy. You can see it's pretty nasty out there. And I'm just looking at the weight of the boat, trying to think if I want to make any last-minute balance changes as I'm going in or not. But really just trying to get a weight right now and get focused on what I need to be doing here shortly.
Do you mentally go over what you're going to do at the start, at the first lap, and then make changes as the race goes on from that point?
Yeah, I kind of do that every day, you know. But, yeah, we do. I kind of go over in my mind where I want to be, how I want to head through the turn. We fly the course early and take a look at some of the smaller boats, the other earlier boats running. And I think we got what we need for out there. We just got to hope it's good enough today.
John is throttle man for the beautiful Drambuie and Ice Machine. Mark Nemshoff not only is a sports standard bearer, but we expect big things out of Tommy Bahama Machine. Bill?
When conditions get increasingly rough as the day goes on, what do you think about?
Well, you think about survival. You can't win if you don't finish. And we need to be careful. The G-forces are mighty high when you're hitting hard out there. And there's lots of things on these boats to break. But assuming that you can make it to the finish line, you got to keep your head on straight. You got to just watch where the other guys are running and, you know, try to see what's going on in their heads, too. Maybe save it for the end. You want to be around at the end.
One machine we expect to see around at the end is the beautiful 40-foot skater known as Don Q Rump. Pat Patel with Bill Adam.
Does the rough water make you a little nervous?
Of course, I'm nervous every race, whether it's rough or flat. I mean, you know, honestly, everybody should be because it's just that kind of sport. But the rough water adds an added attraction of, you know, getting beat up, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough race.
Oh, the rumble sounds great, and we're getting ready to churn up the surf. The power in Powerboat Racing. APBA Offshore Racing coming up with the Super Cats. Well, how serious are the APBA offshore racers about speed? Well, check this out. This is one of the competitors' pleasure boat motors, 1,300 horsepower worth. And you can see how close the fans can get to the pit area. Right down next to the race boat is where that engine was sitting. Getting ready to go racing here as the Super Cats are moving out into the water. Bill, these are some of the biggest boats you'll find anywhere in the water.
Simply awesome is the word for these boats. They are catamarans between 38 and 40 feet in length. Twin, 495 to 510 cubic inch, 1,600 horsepower. Unbelievable weapons.
Let's take a look at the lineup for the Baja Super Cats. And these teams are going to have their hands full in these extreme conditions. Earlier, we talked to John Tomlinson about the strategy of racing here at Corpus Christi.
Daytona was rough. Fort Myers was calm. This race is going to be rough, but it's in a bay area. It's blowing real hard. If we were on the Atlantic Ocean blowing this hard, it'd be like Daytona with big swells. Here it's going to be a 2, 3, 4 foot chop, but white caps close together. So what'll have to happen is there won't be as much throttling going on here. You'll be able to lay the throttles down and run it, but you'll be barking it. The boat will be just flying across the water to where the props will be barking, the motors will be barking, and it's really hard on the equipment. So you won't throttle too much. You'll be doing a lot of feathering it back. When you feel it's going to break loose, you'll feather it back a little bit, but then you want to be ripping right back on it and stay in the yard.
100 horsepower worth. And you can see how close the fans can get to the pit area. Right down next to the race boat is where that engine was sitting. Getting ready to go racing here as the Super Cats are moving out into the water. Bill, these are some of the biggest boats you'll find anywhere in the water.
Simply awesome is the word for these boats. They are catamarans between 38 and 40 feet in length. Twin, 495 to 510 cubic inch, 1,600 horsepower. Unbelievable weapons.
Let's take a look at the lineup for the Baja Super Cats. And these teams are going to have their hands full in these extreme conditions. Earlier, we talked to John Tomlinson about the strategy of racing here at Corpus Christi.
Daytona was rough. Fort Myers was calm. This race is going to be rough, but it's in a bay area. It's blowing real hard. If we were on the Atlantic Ocean blowing this hard, it'd be like Daytona with big swells. Here it's going to be a 2, 3, 4 foot chop, but white caps close together. So what'll have to happen is there won't be as much throttling going on here. You'll be able to lay the throttles down and run it, but you'll be barking it. The boat will be just flying across the water to where the props will be barking, the motors will be barking, and it's really hard on the equipment. So you won't throttle too much. You'll be doing a lot of feathering it back. When you feel it's going to break loose, you'll feather it back a little bit, but then you want to be ripping right back on it and stay in the RPM band.
And coming to the green, the Super Cats coming out of the milling area. Trying to get lined up.
3, 2, 1, great fly, great fly, great fly.
Wow, and you can see as John Tomlinson got on the throttles, a Drambuie Ice Boat really leaping out of the water.
Look how close they are right here, too.
That's on board the Volvo Penta onboard camera on the WHM Motorsports machine. Look at him flying behind him.
And Yahoo! Oh, man, this is rough out here now, and yet look at the speed they're carrying.
Don Q Rum, the blue boat at the top. Team Yahoo back about third. WHM is that big yellow boat. That's your leader right now, but boy, a lot of pressure coming from Patel and the guys at Don Q Rum.
Now, this is going to give us a good indication as they come down here towards us just how rough this is in here. Progressively worse and worse as they head towards. Now we're on board Yahoo. Look at the pounding.
Jones and Morris running in second place in Team Yahoo right now. You can hear the 1,600 horsepower engines just screaming back towards the shore. Now the next wave of boats is getting set as the first group is about halfway through back to open sea. If you love to watch big Super Cats fly, Bill Adam, this is the race for you.
It is so good. The people here are just loving the spectacle of this boat. Now we're on board, and once again, I'm so impressed with the way they have this boat trimmed out and set up today. It is making it look almost easy. Not quite.
Cat Can Do running back behind him in second place, boat number 19. This is Keith Holmes and Mary Golovic using up their 40-foot skater.
And use up might be an appropriate term because, boy, these things they are taking such a pounding. And you see, just a little back, now here is third place. Just look how the boats are riding. Always compare and see how the boats are riding.
Jamin Jones and Curtis Morris in Team Yahoo, another 40-foot skater.
Nicely running across the waves there. Little bit of bow up action, carrying lots of speed.
But they seem to settle down nice, too. They don't seem to come pounding back to the surf.
No, and unlike a V that literally is just letting gravity pull the boat back into the water, the Cat cushions a bit of air, just acting that like a wing. The center part of the boat really is acting as a wing to cushion the impact.
That's fourth and fifth. The first boat is the Extreme Carlos and Charlie's machine of Dan Jackson and Jack Carmody, and fifth is the blue Don Q Rum boat, Felix Sorales and Pat Patel behind them.
Yeah, it appears that Don Q have just chosen the wrong way to go today. They have kind of faded from an early lead back to fifth place now. Dan Jackson and Jack running around the corners here. They, too, just a little bit off the pace right now.
For a team that hasn't spent a whole lot of time together, Carmody and Jackson have molded together quite well, though, already picking up one win this year. Bill Moff and Joan Precia, however, and their skater, having the best day of everybody. There are leaders right there in the Baja Super Cat division.
Look how flat that boat.
They're making it look easy, though, aren't they?
That's impressive.
They head past the Lexington. And we... The official lubricant of the American Powerboat Association Offshore Pro Series. And by Liberty Coach, the official motor coach provider of the APBA Offshore Baja Pro Series. Welcome back. Let's take a look at the Lucas Oil Super V finishing order.
This was an incredible race all day long. Never more than a boat length between them. Let's get down to Ralph in the Lucas Oil winner's circle.
Guys, one of the best battles we've seen in any class all year long. Tell me about the fight back and forth. How tough was it?
Well, you know, APBA has closed up this engine gap deal with, and we've got excellent Mercury motors, and the horsepower are more similar. So it gets more like a NASCAR deal where the guy with the best setup picks the best propeller, the best ratio of weight on the boat, drive height, all those things, and how you actually run the boat. All those things come into play. Whereas Super V in the past, with the big supercharged motors, it was a race of attrition. Now, you know, anybody can go out there and win, and most guys are going to be around at the end because they're going to have good engines. Our Mercury motors did an excellent job, and so what it does, it tightens the competition, and it gets down to the drivers and the setup on the boat, and that's what racing's all about. That's what we had today. That's why we were neck and neck.
The theory is right. You saw how impressive that racing was today indeed. Well, here's a look at the Supercat results with WHM Motorsports pulling out a truly impressive victory. Now let's get back down to Ralph in the Lucas Oil winner's circle.
First win of the year for the team. How does the team build from here?
You know, believe it or not, we got the boat just prior. We didn't actually make the Daytona race because we didn't have the boat. We showed up at Fort Myers. We got the boat Saturday. Had no time to dial it in, no time to test. So, you know, we came down here and we sort of prayed we were going to get this type of weather. I mean, me and Joey from New York, sloppy water. We're used to the bouncing, the beating, and getting pounded. So we were sort of happy to see what we got. But now we got to do our homework because we're going to next race after this is Sarasota, and it don't get like this.
Let's take a look at our Kinetics Cup point standings for the Baja Supercats. By virtue of their Daytona win and 2 more top 5 finishes, Jambuie and Ice remains on top. Sadly, while the race teams were packing up to head home, word reached the APBA community that Jack Carmody had succumbed to injuries received in that crash. Here at APBA Television just met Jack a few weeks ago, but it was clear to all of us he was someone special to the offshore community. He burst on the racing scene in 1995 when he was named Rookie of the Year after